The first mistake the Galactic Dominion made was assuming Earth was quiet because it was weak. To them, the blue-green world sitting at the edge of the spiral arm was nothing more than an unaligned frontier system, rich in organic matter and liquid water, yet seemingly primitive. Their scans showed no interstellar fleets, no orbital shipyards, no FTL beacons humming with activity. Just a planet with a thin veil of satellites and a few metallic husks circling in low orbit, relics of a people still crawling out of their gravity well. So the Dominion came, cloaked in arrogance and shining hulls of tritanium. The invasion began on a Tuesday, or so it was recorded in Terran time. Hundreds of ships entered the Sol system, spreading across the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. The first strike wasn't on military installations but communication arrays. They didn't want to fight, they wanted to subjugate. The Dominion's grand strategist, Velker of the Thuan, called it a pacification effort. He'd led campaigns across 3 sectors, each ending the same way, with banners of surrender raised by species who understood their place. He expected the same here. But something was off about Earth. The humans didn't react the way the Dominion predicted. Instead of surrendering, they went silent. Entire cities went dark. Their networks, once buzzing with endless data, vanished overnight. Dominion infiltrators reported that power grids shut down by choice, satellites self-destructed, and data centers melted under controlled overloads. The planet had, in effect, disappeared from its own grid. Velker thought it was panic. It was preparation. The first wave landed in the ruins of San Francisco. They expected civilians, perhaps a few remnants of local defense forces. Instead, they were met with silence, not the empty kind but the waiting kind. Sergeant Rin, leading the Thuan Ground Battalion, recorded the first encounter. "The humans are hiding," he said in his log. "No resistance. No communication. It's eerie." Then the mist rolled in. Not from the ocean but from the sewers. From vents. From fissures in the cracked streets. The Dominion soldiers activated scanners, but it wasn't gas. It was nanoparticulate. And then the ghosts came. The humans attacked without sound or warning. Not soldiers, shadows in armored exosuits, painted in adaptive camouflage, moving like water. Dominion rifles fired plasma bolts into the fog, but their shots hit nothing. The return fire came from kinetic rounds, primitive bullets, but so fast they tore through Thuan armor as if it were paper. When Velker reviewed the footage later, the last thing visible before the feed cut was a human figure stepping into view, wearing no insignia, no flag, only a black visor reflecting the dying light. The voice came through the radio, distorted but calm. "You shouldn't have come here." That was the beginning of the Terran retaliation. Within days, the Dominion realized something horrifying. Earth wasn't backward, it was hidden. Their satellites, thought to be ancient, were disguised defense drones. The old orbital stations were kinetic weapon platforms. Even the moon, thought to be barren, had hangar bays sealed beneath regolith, awakening for the first time in centuries. And then, for the first time in galactic history, the Dominion fleet lost contact with itself. Every transmission to the invasion armada returned the same message. Access denied. Earth control active. Their systems had been hacked. By a species they believed couldn't even reach FTL. The Council of Galactic Nations convened an emergency meeting. Over 2,000 species watched as Velker stood before the chamber. His voice trembling for the first time in decades. "We misjudged them," he said. "They are not what our intelligence described. They anticipated this." Across the chamber, the representative of the Yalrith Confederacy leaned forward, frowning. You mean to tell us that a pre-FTL species repelled the Dominion? Velker nodded. They didn't repel us. They infiltrated us. The feeds played. Dominion warships, their systems flickering, their hulls venting plasma, were turning their guns inward. Fleet commanders screamed as their own ships opened fire on allies, one after another, the battle dissolving into chaos. The humans had taken control of their fleet's AI cores. No one in the council spoke for a long moment, until the human representative walked in. Yes, there was a human, though none of them knew the Terrans were allowed a seat. She wore a simple black uniform, no medals, no rank insignia. Her hair was cropped short, her expression calm. She didn't introduce herself. She didn't need to. She simply looked at Velker, and then at the entire chamber. "You invaded Earth," she said, voice steady as stone. "Did you think we were unarmed? You watched us for centuries. You saw our wars, our self-destruction, our pain, and you mistook that for weakness. We learned from it." She stepped closer to the central holodisplay and pressed her hand against the console. The display shifted, showing not one world but hundreds. Colonies. A deep space outpost. Human settlements far beyond Sol. "We went quiet for a reason," she said. "We stopped broadcasting. We stopped sharing. Because we learned something else about the galaxy." Her eyes swept the chamber. "You fear what you can't control." Velker took a step back. "That's impossible. You had no FTL travel, no Interstellar." The human raised a brow. "Did we tell you that? Or did you assume?" Silence. She smiled faintly. "We've been among you for a century. We just didn't raise flags. We watched. We studied. We adapted your technology, built our own, and waited. You called us primitive. We called it camouflage. And then, in the skies above every major Dominion world, human ships decloaked. Not hundreds, thousands. Part 2. The day humanity stopped hiding. When the council chambers went dark, no one moved. The massive galactic display hovering above them flickered to reveal the impossible. Human fleets positioned across dozens of sectors. Each one invisible until this moment, each bearing the same emblem. A silver circle with a burning blue star inside. Earth Command had activated Project Aegis, a contingency plan 2 centuries in the making. The Council High Chancellor's voice quavered. "You mean to tell us? You've had fleets this entire time?" The human smiled faintly. "No," she said. "We've had peace. This is defense." And then, in unison, across the holo feed, every human fleet captain sent the same transmission. "Return home or be disarmed." The Dominion refused. They fired. That was their last mistake. Within hours, the war became one-sided. Dominion cruisers exploded before their targeting systems even registered a threat. Human railguns, invisible hypervelocity slugs fired from stealth platforms, shredded ships from light seconds away. When the Dominion's quantum torpedoes detonated, human energy fields bent around them, absorbing the impact and redirecting it. Humanity didn't invent these defenses. They evolved them. Every war on Earth had been a lesson, every global conflict a rehearsal for survival. They had learned how to adapt faster than any species alive. Velker's final report was found days later. His voice was weak, frightened, no trace of arrogance left. They are not conquerors. They strike then vanish. They disable, not destroy. But they are everywhere. Every ship, every world compromised. We thought they were chaotic, but they are methodical. The Council watched the footage until the last second, where Velker's ship imploded, not from an explosion but from within. A message appeared on his final screen. For Earth. For peace. For warning. The council chambers were silent again, every eye on the lone human representative. "What do you want?" the Chancellor asked quietly. The woman, her name later revealed as Commander Ilara Stone, stood tall. "Nothing. You wanted our planet. You wanted to own what you didn't understand. Now you'll remember why that's a mistake. You've crippled an empire," the Chancellor said. "You've destabilized half the sector." "No," Ilara replied. "We've stabilized it. Because no one will ever try this again." The chamber trembled as a soft tone echoed through the air. One by one, the human ships uncloaked and then vanished into hyperspace corridors that no other species had ever detected. They left as quietly as they had arrived. Days later, the Dominion officially surrendered, not to humanity but to its own guilt. Their surviving fleets refused to fight. Their generals deactivated their AI systems, terrified of what the humans might still be watching. The Council issued a galactic decree. Earth is sovereign territory. Do not approach. Do not scan. Do not interfere. But the truth was, it didn't matter. Humanity had already moved on. Centuries later, historians would call it the Quiet War. There were no heroes, no parades. Only a single transmission left in the archives of the council chamber. A message recorded by Ilara herself. "You think we wanted this war. You think we were waiting to strike. Well, we wanted to live. But when you came to our world, you forced us to show what survival looks like. Remember that before you invade another home." The screen faded to black. And then, almost poetically, a small blue dot appeared, the same image of Earth rotating slowly in the void. Underneath it, a final line of text glowed softly. "Do not mistake silence for weakness. It's how predators prepare." The galaxy never invaded Earth again. Some say the humans returned to the stars centuries later, not as conquerors but as teachers. Others whisper that they never left, that they still walk among the stars, unseen, keeping watch. And sometimes, when a fleet vanishes in deep space, or a corrupted signal appears in an AI core, the veterans remember the words that began it all, the words whispered in every corner of the galaxy. "You invaded Earth." And the answer, eternal and unchanging, is always the same. The Council could only stare in shock.